The trip that changed my life. Just over a month ago, I was lucky enough to be able to attend the first ever creator camp in Zermatt, Switzerland. Switzerland has been a place I've been wanting to go to ever since I even started photography, so the fact that I was able to get invited to the event was mind-blowing. When I first got the email invite, I honestly didn't know if it was real or not, but after doing a little more research, I realized it was real, and at the time, I didn't have my passport. So after the sheer excitement and panic of being invited, I had to rush and expedite my passport so I'd receive it in time to go on this trip. Going into this trip, I was honestly extremely nervous for all the travel. I'd only ever flown on a plane twice before, and I never even left the country. I flew from Portland, Oregon to Reykjavik, Iceland, flew from Reykjavik to Zurich, Switzerland. Then once I got to Zurich, I hopped on the train for about 3.5 hours and rode to Zermatt. Thankfully, my friend Benj was waiting for me at the Zurich airport because he flew in from the UK, and we were able to hop on the train together and ride to Zermatt, or else honestly, I probably would have got lost. Once we arrived in Zermatt, we immediately went to the welcoming party. Then from the welcoming party, we went straight to the welcome dinner. At the welcome dinner, it was great to meet all of the other fellow creators, as well as the Zermatt tourism workers who were putting on the trip for us. After dinner and a couple drinks, I walked back to my hotel. I actually ended up getting lost, but I ended up finding my hotel alright, and after about 30 to 32 hours of being up, I was finally able to go to sleep. To start our first full day in Zermatt, we began with some yoga, and after that, we were able to hit the spa, so we had a cold plunge, sauna, whatever we wanted, you name it. After our morning at the spa, we had a couple of hours of free time, so we were able to go to our hotel room and freshen up, and then we went and grabbed some lunch as well. And then this is where the real adventure begins. From this point forward, we'd be going non-stop until the camp was over. We took a short taxi to the Air Zermatt heliport. From there, we would take a helicopter ride up to the Rothhorn. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I've only ever been on an airplane twice before this trip, so you can bet I haven't ever been on a helicopter. I was lucky enough to get the front seat in the helicopter next to the pilot, thank you Charlie and Benj, and it was quite an experience to say the least. The only way I can describe how it feels to be in a helicopter for those of you that haven't is like when you're sliding in a car on ice, but you're flying and someone is controlling it for you. Pretty crazy. With all that being said, it was an incredible experience being able to see the Alps from above. We're flying for probably a total about, 15, 20 minutes, and I was shooting non-stop. Once we landed at the top of the Rothhorn, and for those of you that don't know what the Rothhorn is, I believe it is a giant peak that you can take a ski lift up, and obviously in the wintertime, I'm assuming you can ski down. That is where we landed, and then once we got up there, we just waited for the other helicopters to come with the remainder of the creators. Once everyone else got up to the Rothhorn and their helicopters left, we hung out up there for a little bit, and then we began the hike down to the lake, where we're going to be spending the afternoon and then hiking down for sunset. For those of you watching that know me or follow me, which I'm assuming probably all of you follow me if you're watching this, you know I love a good mountain lake. And this lake was nothing short of incredible. Once we got to the lake, it was kind of nice just to be able to hang out, get to know everybody a little more, have some lunch, and kind of just soak in the views and really appreciate where we were at. Once it became golden hour, we started the hike back down to Zermatt because it was quite long. It was over 7 miles back to the town. I remember thinking on the hike down that I couldn't even believe that I was actually in Switzerland, looking at the Matterhorn, hiking down back to the valley in the Alps with a crazy sunset. It was just one of those moments where I'm like, wow, how am I actually here? By the time we got back to Zermatt, it was dark and my legs were hurting. All in all, from the top of the Rothhorn back to Zermatt, it was 7.7 miles. And if I tracked it correctly, we lost 5,400 feet of elevation, so my knees were shot. Once we got back to Zermatt, we all just went back to our hotel rooms and just hung out and went to sleep for the night. Following morning, I snagged some hotel breakfast, and then we had a workshop being put on from one of the fellow creators, which was great. And after that, we had a little bit of time to prep ourselves for the trek up to the Trift mountain hut. At this point, I was honestly pretty beat. I'd slept for like 8 hours in the last 3 days, and we had hiked almost 8 miles yesterday, travel, all that. So I was pretty tired, but I had to prepare myself for the trek up to the Trift. Now going into this hike, I was expecting it to be super steep and suck. But honestly, it was steeper and it sucked even more than I expected. I knew it was going to be short and steep, and it was short. It was only about 3 miles. And it was super steep. We ended up gaining over 2,400 feet in 3 miles. Now I consider myself someone who is in pretty good shape. I hike a decent amount, I walk a lot, that kind of stuff. I can push myself if I need to. But I don't know if it was a combination of traveling and not sleeping and just being in a new place and kind of just a mix of everything. But this took it out of me. And even though it sucked, it was one of those moments where I was like, I can't be mad or like complain about what I'm doing, because it's like I'm literally hiking up this valley next to this river in the Swiss Alps, and we're going to be going up to a mountain hut and staying there for that. So I can't complain about anything. And I'll be honest, I was one of the last ones in the group to make it up there, but the most important thing is I made it up there. And once I made it, I got a giant glass of iced tea, and it was the best iced tea I've ever drank in my life. Once we made it up there, we just hung out for the rest of the day. There's actually a trampoline up there. Don't ask me why there's a trampoline at a mountain hut in the Swiss Alps. I don't know, but it was super fun. We're all just hanging out around there, spending more time together. And then after that, we went to dinner in the big mess hall in the hut, and it was just a super, super cool and super unique experience. The mountain hut is ran by a gentleman and his wife. I can't remember the names. They were extremely nice, and it's just crazy to me that there's places like that exist in the world. After dinner, we all just hung out for a little bit more. Then we all went to sleep because we had an early 5 a.m. sunrise hike the following morning. So it is now 4:45 the following morning. My alarm is going off, and at this point, I am completely beat. I'm exhausted, but I'm like, when else am I gonna be here? At a hut in the Swiss Alps with these people. I gotta get up for the sunrise hike. And thank goodness I did. The sunrise hike was only about 1.5 miles long, but it was also almost 1,200 more feet of elevation gain. We're starting to see a common theme of the hikes out in Switzerland. Super steep. It was super foggy the entire hike up, and I just kept telling myself, it's gonna burn off, it's gonna burn off, it's gonna burn off, this is gonna be a crazy sunrise. And wouldn't you know it, right before we reach the viewpoint, you can see the Matterhorn starting to peek out of the fog. And before you know it, we are above the fog. The fog is inverted in the valley, and it's just straight mountain, 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 mountain. Crazy. And after running around for about an hour like an absolute madman, shooting photo, video, and film, we began the hike back down to the Trift mountain hut for breakfast. And after breakfast, we just packed our bags and began the hike back down to Zermatt, and that was the end of the Crater Camp. After making the hike back down to town, we said goodbye to our fellow campers, but there were actually a few of us that were able to stay another day. Benj, Brandon, and I were able to ride the train up to the top of another peak and catch some nice afternoon light on the glaciers. I feel like I've been lucky enough to see some crazy landscapes out here in the USA, but they really do not stack up against the landscapes out in Switzerland. After spending some time up there shooting our last photos and videos of the trip, we took the train back down to town, and at this point we were all so exhausted, we just went back to our hotel rooms for the night. The following morning, we all just packed our bags, rode the train back to the airport, and I'll began the journey back home. Since returning back to Oregon from this trip, it has really opened my eyes and kind of just changed my perspective on how much there is to see out in the world. Like, obviously I know that the world is huge and then there is a lot of different places you can go and visit and see and experience. But now that I've actually done it, it has really opened my eyes on how much there is to actually see and experience. And now, honestly, I just want to do it all. So I say all that to say this. The moral of the story is, if you have the chance to go out and see the world and experience different cultures and countries, do it. I learned so much about myself and others on this trip, and it's something that I will honestly never take for granted. This is a trip that I'll remember forever. And I also just want to say thank you to Zermatt Tourism for putting this trip on, and thank you to all the other creators out there who joined this trip and made it so special. And I know this video is a lot different than kind of typical videos I make, and I'm kind of just over putting that pressure on myself to make sure every single thing that I post online is quote unquote perfect. At the end of the day, I just love going outside and traveling and experiencing new things, and I just want to document that. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you guys for all the love and support across all of my various social media channels, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.